So I get asked all the time, what do you do when you're just starting out a new musical project from scratch? How do you start to get people to actually care? How do you showcase to people, hey, this is a real thing I'm doing. Here is why. And yeah, what are those first steps? I wanted to make a video breaking that down because people don't know sometimes. And I think also a lot of people overthink launching their project, which is why really my first big piece of advice for any of this is just drop that first song. Like, maybe it'll suck. Maybe it's gonna not blow you up right away. But guess what? Most people's first song kind of sucks. Most people's first song does not blow them up right away. Most people's first song is just out in the world and it's there as a thing for folks to consume. But that's weirdly what matters, right? Like, you get taken so much more seriously as an artist when you have something that's actually like publicly available for consumption than if you just are going around telling people like, "Oh yeah, I'm a musician." And I know it might feel like some people blow up on their first song, but I am telling you right now, they don't. That is sort of artificially manufactured. A lot of the people where it looks like they blow up on their first song, if they're a little older, frequently they had like some other project going on before for years that allowed them to kind of build up the community and the network to do all the things. Or if they're like an 18-year-old who seems to blow up on their first song, there tends to have been, years of other stuff before. They were really active in musical theater. They were really connected over here, blah, 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 right? Like, it happens. Some people grow up in more artistic families or their parents see the talent really early on and really invest in them. You can't be jealous of those people. Like, that's how it is. But realize your first song is probably not going to be what blows you up. But also realize that that's okay. So once you have that first song out, what you want to focus on is going to shows. Because if you go to shows, especially small club shows in your niche, you are going to meet other people who are interested in the same sorts of things as you are, right? Because that's where cool musicians tend to hang out. And if you can get face to face interaction, you're going to have much more productive things happening to you than if you're just reaching out to strangers on the internet or just sitting in your bedroom hoping someone magically recognizes your genius and decides to help blow you up. That doesn't happen, right? So go to shows, make those connections because when you meet other musicians, that's how you get like collaborations to do other stuff in the future. We'll get to that. But also, if you want to get shows, you have to go to shows. If you want to play live, people are not going to just answer an email from a stranger and be like, "Yeah, you can get on this show," right? Like, any show promoter, ask any show promoter, they get spammed all the time by random people trying to play their shows or any venue. Same thing. They get spammed all the time. If you want to know more about booking shows, I made a video about it. That personal interaction is really helpful for getting those first shows, for getting those first opportunities, for being able to be like, hey, I'm a real person who's into the same stuff as you. Is there an opening slot eventually I can maybe hop on? And very frequently, people will just offer it to you because people are looking for openers a lot of the time. And so if you just show up and are nice consistently, you will get a club show offer if you make music. But that music has to be publicly available because, again, people who are active in the scene meet a ton of people who are like, oh, I'm totally a musician who don't have anything actually available to consume. What's the fucking point there, right? No one's going to take you seriously then. So you put out that first song, even if it sucks, now you have something to show people. Then you have to go to shows to meet the sort of people who you can start to build with. If you're struggling for how to find small local club shows in your niche, go look up smaller venues near you, 300 cap or less. Go look online for underground shows in genre in your city. Those things work really well. Even just go to the cool coffee shop or bar, see what flyers are up. Go to one of those shows. Once you start going to a few smaller shows, it becomes very easy to understand when the other cool things are coming up. Another place where you can find a lot of smaller shows is just bands in town, right? Like, it's a show search engine. It's really effective. Not enough people use it, but most do. So if you're struggling, give that a shot. The other option for this is open mics, and those are relatively easy to find too. What I will say is there tends to be kind of a divorce between the people who play open mics and the people who play like actual club shows, right? And so what I would say is dial in more on the club show side. If you want to play open mics, that's cool. You're definitely going to make connections. You're definitely going to make friends, and you get to actually practice performing your music live with minimum stakes. Club shows tended to pay off more for me, but also if you want to do both and commit to both, go for it. Because again, early on, the whole goal is to have stuff available and to meet other people interested in the same stuff as you. This is the best way to do it because you can reach out to folks online, and that's totally fine. But going to shows is going to be more effective. When you are reaching out to folks online, though, the formula for this is to look up smaller artists, like 5,000 Spotify monthlies or less, because that generally means they're going to see all their DMs and answer and actually talk to you. Because if you reach out to Tyler, the creator, he's not ever going to reply to you, right? So you reach out to smaller artists in your space, in your region, do some homework for that. And what you will find, is if you reach out and you say, hey, I really like your music, especially this song for this reason. Very frequently, people will be like, oh, wow, okay, this person actually gives a shit. They actually did some research. And now you start talking and now you make a friend. Maybe you go to their next show and you're building up that connection. But you have to do the outreach. If you're not doing the outreach, you're just going to be stuck, right? Like, to get the ball rolling down the hill, first you need the ball, which is the music, and then like the push is just having community, having people to actually do stuff with. Because again, no one's just letting you randomly do this on your own. Now, in terms of marketing the songs, all you need to do is just create some basic content around the songs. Don't worry about getting super fancy. Don't get too down a rabbit hole of some big artists and being like, oh, I could never do that. That will just make you want to quit. What you want to do instead is ask, what is some basic content I can create that will showcase what I'm doing? And very basic ideas include performance videos, just in your rehearsal space. Maybe you throw the studio audio on instead. It could be live footage. Maybe you throw the studio on if the audio capture on the iPhone or whatever was bad. It could be just doing vocal takes into the mic. Just here's me performing the vocals on my new song. People really like that too, right? You do the simple stuff first. Don't worry about getting high end. As you start to get better, maybe you start to do lip sync videos, maybe you start to do AMV edits, maybe you start to do whatever. One thing I would say to do though and to prioritize is do a photo shoot of some sort, right? And it doesn't have to be super fancy. It just has to be like 3 to 10 photos just to kind of help capture your vibe a little bit and help go, okay, here's like some promo photos you can use for whatever, or just to have on Instagram as like real profile pictures rather than just like some random thing. Uh, Keep that in mind. And it's around this time that you start creating content that you want to start going, okay, what is the vision for this project? What is the aesthetic? What is the story I'm trying to tell here? And realizing, okay, the best way to help tell that story, in addition to consistently releasing music, is to have content that ties into that story. That doesn't mean every piece of content needs to be like, hey, this is indie folk about going through a breakup. But it's about consistently creating things where as people dig in, they're like, okay, there's a clear, consistent vision of this is the type of artist this is. And then also like, okay, this is the lyrical context that I'm resonating with, you know, and just kind of building that world. And the content really helps with that as sort of a companion piece to the music, if you will. This is also around the time maybe you think about making a music video for your single, right? Because again, you're just putting out that first single just to do it, but eventually you might want a music video, and it doesn't have to be super fancy. Like you'll see tons of people do sort of basic visualizers or just like very simple videos of even just them like chilling on the couch reading a book as the song plays. These things can and do work because it just helps highlight the universe. It gives people a way to connect more deeply with the song, right? But again, don't stress about it too much early on. You're just trying to create some content to let people know, hey, here's a reminder this thing I did exists. Here's some of the aesthetic and the vision behind it. Let's connect with it. And if you need more content ideas, I have tons of videos about that. But the thing is, you want to run it back consistently, right? I see so many people they put out their first song, they're all excited, maybe they create some content, and then you just never hear from them again. And it's like, if you want this to go anywhere, yes, it's going to be hard. Each song is going to be harder and harder and harder for a while until it starts to get easier. Because you have to get over that initial hump of learning how to do all the things and kind of get it to a better place. And then it's going to start to be like, oh, okay, I can do this, right? But yeah, you only learn by doing. So after you put out that first song and you start going to shows, 6 to 8 weeks later, put out another song. Repeat the same process. Continue meeting people. And by this point, if you've been going to 1 or 2 shows a week for 6 weeks, you're going to start to have some friends who might be like, hey, you can come play a 15-minute set opening on whatever show. Another thing to realize is the more music you have out, the more effective your marketing becomes, not just because you learned by doing, but also because like, oh, Now I can engage with this new artist I discovered longer because there's more stuff for me to enjoy. And so I'm just going to listen for more time. Now, on the flip side, generally in my experience, that doesn't mean just put out a whole EP at once right as you're starting, you know, because it takes time to write songs and it probably took you a while to get those first songs done. And you want to basically release a single every 6 weeks or so consistently just to make it so people are reminded you exist and you're doing exciting things. Why do people get excited about an artist? Because they're consistently doing exciting things. So you just want to consistently roll out those singles. Maybe you roll them into an EP as your first release. Maybe you roll them into a whole album. So now you've built an initial system to start building your network, start getting music out there, start creating content to help promote the music. That was basic. Now, if you want to level up, what you start doing is going, okay, within my community, who's playing regionally? Let me talk to them and see how I can start to play regionally. That town that's 100 miles away, how do I get a show over there? Well, the best way is to just ask your friends who are already playing there who their contact was. I have a whole video breaking this down. As you get better at creating content, then you're going to start creating more content. And it's going to be more high end. You're going to start to level up there. Another big piece of the community side is now you can start doing collabs because you know other people doing similar things in your space, right? So start reaching out and being like, yo, let's do a quick collab. And you don't have to make these fancy. It doesn't have to be like a whole co-write situation. It can literally just be like, hey, I have the song already done. Let me cut out the second verse, second chorus. You come in and sing it, and then I'll go in and do harmonies, for example, right? Like, don't overthink it. Just start taking advantage of the fact that you have stuff out and that you've built a community and then putting those two things together consistently. And it's really only after you started to build that basis that you want to start thinking about higher level stuff. Starting to work on ads, now that there's a universe and an aesthetic for people to dig into. Thinking about PR, which, especially on lower levels, really only is valuable, in my opinion, if you have like a very clear vision that people can very easily talk about. And even then, it's a lot of money. All those things really come after you've started to build the foundation, in my experience, that you've just gotten started. You put out music, you started going to shows, you started making friends, you started doing the damn thing. Until you get those things done, I don't know. But that is the easiest way to start a project. And it's going to be a lot of work and it might feel overwhelming, right? But just start going. Because the hardest part is getting started. After that, you can start to learn and figure stuff out and iterate and go, okay, how do I make my system better? If you want more content from me or more context for any of this, subscribe to my page. And if you want private consultation, email matt@dropoutmedia.net. Thank you so much for watching. YouTube's still a scary format for me, so I appreciate you sticking around.